Hi there, this is Prague Talk, a podcast from Radio Prague International. I'm Ian Willoughby. My guest in this edition is Marek Hovorka, one of the most important people in the world of documentaries in Czechia, thanks to his role as head of the Ji.hlava International Documentary Film Festival. The 44-year-old actually started the event with friends while still at school, and today it draws many thousands of film buffs to the usually sleepy town in the middle of the country every year. Ahead of the 28th edition of Ji.hlava, I caught up with Marek Hovorka to discuss the festival's development, changes this year, and outlook for the future. That's for this edition of Prague Talk. It's quite well known that you started the Ji.hlava Film Festival when you were still at school with a group of friends. What was the motivation for you to start the festival?
Yeah, once upon a time, I just wanted to watch documentary films in the cinema. And I realized, me and my friends organizing the first edition, that we are not alone. There are many viewers in the first edition who wanted to watch documentary films in cinema and with the directors, and share it as an event, a celebration of documentary filmmaking.
And what did it actually look like, the first edition in 1997?
Yes, it was a small event, 3 days in one cinema with less than 300 seats, but really from this first edition the cinema was crowded. Hundreds of young people came, and from this very first edition was obvious that those people who are interested in documentary films are special, that they are doing more steps than it's usual to discover something new and think about the world we are living in. For example, the editor-chief of Weekly Respect, Erik Tabiri, was one of those, at that time, students who attended the festival, and many other really strong personalities started to include Ji.hlava in their autumn calendar.
Ji.hlava, the actor and director who has done several of the opening ceremonies, maybe closing ceremonies also for Ji.hlava, he was also one of the group who started it, was he?
Yeah, definitely. We were schoolmates from age of 9, so we know each other very well. For the last 3 years at the high school, we were sitting at the same bench at the most far corner in the class. So yeah, of course, it was natural that we also were organizing the festival together, and I still could feel this documentary inspiration in his film or theater works till today.
When did you first start having international guests at Ji.hlava?
The very first edition was the third edition in 1999, and it was attended by Viktor Kosakovsky. He received the first award for contribution to world cinema.
Since that time, of course, you've had many interesting foreign guests. For you, who have been some of the kind of standout ones?
It's really not easy to say, but maybe because of age, it was really special to meet Manuel de Oliveira, who was attending the festival for its 10th edition, so it was 2006. At that time, he was something like 97. So when I moderated a talk with him, you understood that you were talking to somebody who was youngster when cinema was young. So he was really going to cinema, to Dziga Vertov, the same way how we are going to cinema today. And it was a really unique feeling to talk to someone who's connected to these roots of cinematography. And of course, he was very educated and very, I would say, smart. And also then, for example, Richard Leacock was a really exceptional guest because he was at that time very much fascinated by digital cameras and digitalization of film, and at the time it was rebellion because most of the filmmakers wanted to keep 35mm prints and everything like they are used to, or they were used to, and he was just saying no, I want that everybody can make film, that camera is like pen, and now with our smartphones it happened. So he was really like pioneer of this digital way of thinking through film. And I'm very happy that he somehow pushed the audience in Ji.hlava to think this way.
When did you first begin having a competition or competitions plural in the festival?
It's, I think, typical for our festival that the festival develops step by step. So we didn't start with something, like bombastic and global, but step by step we are developing the festival and trying to adjust to needs of documentary filmmakers or needs of audience or needs of students, or even in general, like what documentary filmmaking needs are. So, for example, that's also why we started to publish books or publish documentaries magazine and other things. So the first competition, I think, was 2000 or 2001. It was national competition, Czech Joy, and then, let's say, every 2 years we added new competition. Like at that time, we had a special competition for films coming from Central Europe. Then it was Central and Eastern Europe. Then we started to do like international competition, first films competition, experimental competition for experimental films, and of course we have a special program for short films. So now we have pretty many competitions. The last one we added is called Testimonies, and it's for documentary films which are more like blockbuster styles, topic oriented. But this is something was very important for us when we are making the program, that the festival needs to be attractive for somebody who is arriving for the first time, but also for the visitors who are every year for 10 years attending the festival, because of course you develop your sensitivity for documentary filmmaking in years.
Running a film festival isn't just about selecting cool films. There's also a lot of interaction with political figures, the region. You're trying to obtain money from, for example, the city of Ji.hlava, I guess. Say when you were younger and you were at the age of, 20, going into these offices, how did these political figures and local politicians see you, this young guy coming in saying, please, can we have some money?
I think it has not changed much from that time, but my perspective is to always try to find people who thinks in longer perspective, because if they are thinking in longer perspective, usually they understand what we are doing and what might be the benefits of this event for town, for the region, for Czech Republic, or in general for documentary filmmaking.
What are the kind of documentaries that most speak to you, Marek, as a viewer?
There are more than 3,000 films every year submitted to our program, and also every month we are at different film festival watching films there and thinking about their selection. So for me, it's really interesting to see something I do not expect. This is really challenging even today, to think if it's serious or not serious, if it might be successful way of crossing borders or not. And also what's interesting for me is following the authors, because it's shocking information. When I read it, it was shocking for me that 70% of filmmakers who did the feature film debut do not continue with second feature. So those filmmakers who really are making like third, fourth, fifth film, it's really dedication, and they are real authors. And it's always interesting to see how they are developing their style, and how they are moving forward in terms of cinema.
Documentary film is, of course, a kind of minority interest. Do you ever wish that documentaries were more popular, more mainstream?
It's changing, and it's changing for quite a long time, but of course still it's different in terms of financing. Documentary filmmakers are paid much less compared to filmmakers, or the same filmmakers, if they are doing a documentary film, they are paid much less than if they are doing feature films. That's also the reason why many documentary filmmakers moved to hybrid films, and they are then asking for support as a fiction cinema. So it's questionable what's documentary and what's not documentary. We can see, for example, in Netflix that there is huge production of documentary films or documentary content, and it's popular, it's watched. But of course, at the end, if you ask, for example, critics or people in general, what's the best film they've seen in last year, most of them will answer fiction film. So it's a question of mindset that we still somehow divide that film is a fiction film, but if we really have time to think about it, there are no borders like this. It's really about cinema itself, and there are many documentary films which are strong. And also people, I mean, even like my experience with people living in Ji.hlava, if they decide to go to festival screenings, they're amazed. And they would not expect that this is documentary cinema, that it's so much live and talking to them, so much contemporary. So sometimes it's more about promotion and the way how people can get to watch these films than about those films.
This year's edition of Ji.hlava is going to be, I guess, the longest ever, 10 days. Why are you making it longer?
Yes, it's a really unique year because we are prolonging the festival from 6 to 10 days because we somehow, and it was not the first year, we firstly experienced it in 2019, just before COVID, that we realized that, the infrastructure of accommodation and also like in general, like how many films we can screen and repeat, that there are limits we cannot cross if we will not change the concept of the festival. During pandemic, we had different challenges, but we are happy that we succeed. And then after 2 years, again, the situation was back and we realized that we need to change something because people were staying 30 kilometers around the town and it was very problematic for everybody and people wanted to get to screenings and they were crowded. So 10 days will make it easier, I believe, for everybody to find a good accommodation in Ji.hlava or just very close to Ji.hlava, and we will screen most of the films 2 times and the Czech competition films 3 times. So I believe that if people decide to go to the festival to watch certain films, they will succeed.
Unlike most people, you have really had a big impact on your hometown and brought something important to the place that you come from. Is that really gratifying for you?
Yeah, at least for a few days I'm happy that the town or my hometown is changed, and I'm happy that I hear that for many people it's important moment in the life of the town and in their lives that Ji.hlava can have this type of festive and very live atmosphere. Yeah, I think that it's a good thing about Czech Republic that culture is decentralized and that in most of the capitals of the regions there are, for example, important film festivals.
I've been to Ji.hlava, I guess, most of the editions in the last 10, 11 years. It's very studenty. There's a very studenty vibe. It often feels to me like half of FAMU just moved to this small town. But the students, I guess, keep staying the same age, but you get older. Do you ever feel like some age difference with the audiences as the years go by?
Yeah, that's a good question because this year we'll have the 28th edition. So definitely those people who started to attend the festival around 2000, for example, and some of them are still coming back. They have kids and maybe their kids are attending the festival now as well. So Ji.hlava really became a festival for more than one generation. We also seriously think about it. So we have several programs for kids and teenagers, and we want to show them what kind of energy can come from cinema. And also we are starting this year with special programs or communication and suggestions for seniors to bring them to the festival as well, and also to people with different types of handicaps, because we really think that the festival should be the place for everybody, and connecting these generations is something what's enriching.
How would you like to see Ji.hlava develop in the coming years? You've already had, 27, 28 editions. How would you like to see it develop, let's say, over the next 10, 15 years?
I mean, we always try to connect, well-known and established filmmakers with the newcomers and new blood of cinema. And this is something I would definitely go for in next years and work with this more.
Would you like it to be the only job you ever have in your whole life?
I have more jobs than one. But I don't know. I'm not thinking about it like this. I think it's the same if you ask teacher, do you want to teach the whole life, or doctor, do you want to be doctor the whole life? Nobody knows what the life will bring. But it's not for me that it's just a described job. For festival and for me, it's important to be innovative and think about the festival every year a little bit in different way, move it forward. And making it differently also means that we are learning every year new things. And that's That's interesting. That's interesting even for me to do it again and again, because we are not machines and we don't want to think about it. It's just some kind of technical things we have to do. And also, making the selection, it's like fishing the pond. So you never know what you will fish at the end.
Many thanks indeed to Marek Hovorka, who I was speaking to at the offices of the Ji.hlava I International Documentary Film Festival here in Prague. The 2024 edition is due to run from October 25th to the 3rd of November. Prague Talk is a podcast from Radio Prague International, and if you're new to the pod and enjoyed this conversation, why not look up some of the earlier editions? There are now well over 100 of them. Also, don't forget to subscribe wherever you get podcasts. But for now, that's all from me, Ian Willoughby. Thank you so much indeed for listening to Prague Talk, and talk to you again very soon.